Well, well, yo, hey, yo, well,
With 2020 leaving such a lingering effect on us all, I thought to invite Frist Nations elder, ex-Airborne, and my dad, Richard Two on my channel today to explore his perspective on why we are still divided in Western civilization, civil unrest, and how to achieve fundamental unity. Thanks for joining us today, Bear. In brief, would you like to share with us your experiencing practicing traditional medicine and what you refer to as your journey home?
Well, good day, everyone. Hawaii. Greetings, wherever you are. My name is Richard Two a Zeal Scumheast, two grizzly bears. I'm a mixed blood, Micmac and Scottish ancestry. Since 1970, I spent time with elders in Canada and the United States learning traditional ways and traditional teachings. And since being in New Zealand in 1992, I continually share those teachings with everybody who has ears to hear the truth. So thank you for having me here. It's awesome. I've been waiting to do one of these shows with my lovely daughter. So great. Thank you very much.
Yes, oh my gosh, have we waited for I don't know how many years. I've wanted to have Bear on my channel a lot because I feel that he shares a real philosophical perspective and can bring a lot of perspective from what he's learnt from being First Nations. So thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
So could you care to tell us a little bit about the sacred hoop and the four directions?
Yeah, the sacred hoop. The sacred hoop, medicine wheel, the wheel of four directions, is all that is. It encompasses everything. In a short podcast like this, it's really hard to cover every aspect. If you look at it simply as the four directions, north, east, south, and west, the four colors, white, red, yellow, and black, represents the times of the year, the seasons. It also represents, for a lot of people, and this is controversial because some people say it's not and some people say it is. My teachings, the way I learned, the four direction colors, red, yellow, black, and white, represent the four principal races of humanity. Without those four, we don't have a hoop. We don't have a circle. If you take one of them out, we have a triangle. And there's no triangles in nature. It's not a naturally occurring thing. So for us, the sacred hoop recognizes our connection with all of creation. I'm a one-hearted person. I recognize that the earth does not belong to me. I belong to the earth. Two-hearted people see that the earth belongs to them and it's theirs to use as they see fit. They see that they're not related to the animals, to the birds, to the fish, or anything. It's just something that's there for them to exploit. On the other hand, traditional people recognize that I am but simply another species that lives on this planet. No better, no worse than any of the other species that I share this earth with.
What can being a one-hearted person and a two-hearted person teach us about unity and about connecting with another person?
One-hearted people, we're basically non-judgmental. We recognize that we all have a right to be here. We all play an important part of this earth that we live on. We recognize that what happens to one species happens to us all. Two-hearted people, on the other hand, don't care about that. They care about what they can get, how much they can get, how fast they can get it. And they don't care about having to walk over anything or anybody. It's simply there for them to exploit. And if you look around you, you'll see that technology, which is a two-hearted instrument, technology keeps advancing so fast that, oh, wow, that new phone that you bought today, the new latest 2020 phone that you bought today is already obsolete. That the new 2021 is bigger and better and faster and does the same job. Who cares? It works, but technological, two-hearted people have to have the new, the best. And where does the new and best come from? Exploitation. Exploitation of the land, the people in India, people in Sri Lanka, people around the world that work for pennies a day. They're there to provide for the guy at the top of the pyramid who doesn't care. He already has more money than he will ever spend in his entire life. But he wants more. More is better. More is more. I want more. I want it all. One-hearted people, we don't see it that way. We take care of the earth. We
Take care of each other.
We take care of each other. We recognize that no matter what race you are, no matter where you're from, no matter what you believe, what your spiritual belief is, who am I to judge what you believe? The elders taught me. Creator whispered in my ear in a way that resonates in my heart, which is why I believe what I believe. Your Creator, your God, whispered in your ear in a way that resonates in your heart, which is why you believe what you believe.
And it all connects in with each other.
It does. It all connects in with each other. And who am I to say that your God, your Creator, whispered the wrong message to you?
Because I think it all has kind of the similar values all across different cultures and religions, etc. They all have like one fundamental value, which is that connection with each other, the connection to earth and the connection to the ether. And I think that's one thing that I found, especially with traditional cultures or indigenous cultures, whether it's Māori, Australian Aboriginal, Native American, and even Old Norse, is that they all have this fundamental connection to the earth and to the ether.
Before there was recognized religions, no matter where we lived on this earth, we were all people of the earth. We all recognized the life force, the essence in the trees, in the forest, in the grass, in the plants, in the animals around us. We would hunt an animal for food and for hide. We would offer prayers for that animal, our way of showing respect for the sacrifice that animal made. Two-hearted people don't think like that.
What we are taught in Western society, these particular guidelines that instill fear in the masses. And I mean, if we think about these traditional indigenous cultures, what's one thing that they can teach us in the West about unity and love for everyone?
Good question. The answer to that is balance. Our connection with the earth gives us balance in ourselves. Unity with creation, all of creation, puts us back into our place within creation, our place of balance, where we are doing our part to maintain the earth. There's no place for discrimination. There's no place for negative isms. We're all equal. We, as a military veteran, there's a song that I sing, and it's called the Woman's Honor Song. And it's a song that's sung by a man, a warrior, to honor our women, my daughter, my wife, the feminine energy of the earth. The feminine energy of the earth herself. The earth is our mother. We see the earth as being our mother. When you're out of balance, when you've lost your connection with that, you don't see it that way. You don't see the importance of maintaining that relationship where people aren't always easy to get along with. But I can still disagree with my daughter and respect her at the same time. I'm not perfect. There is no perfect. There is no perfect. There is only working every day at being back in balance.
Yes, it's centering yourself, isn't it?
Yes.
It's about centering yourself and challenging your ego, because you'll know better than anyone else. It doesn't matter what you believe, who you are. It's about challenging the ego, dismantling the ego. And it's very interesting because the other day I was watching the Dalai Lama speak, and he was talking about how nations across the world can all find unity together. And he said the only way to find unity is to pretty much agree to disagree, to understand that we aren't perfect. No one's perfect, and we all have differences, and it's about understanding that we're different and accepting each other anyway. And, it's interesting because I feel that, the basics of Buddhism can really teach us in the West as well to dismantle our ego and to challenge ourselves and to realize that we're not perfect and we can't tell another person that they're wrong. We can't yell that in a conversation because they're not going to listen.
The Buddhist religion has its basis deep, deep, deep in a connection with the earth. They recognize that we're all related. They recognize that we all breathe the same air. We all drink the same water. I wake up in the morning, I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. I'm not a special person. It took me a while to figure this out. It took me a while to learn this. And once I learned this, I've never deterred from it. My whole purpose in being here, alive on the earth at this time, is to find my way home. Not where I live in my house, in here. My way home to my core essence, my core being, so that I'm more in balance with everything and everybody around me.
It's about centering yourself and understanding and respecting your connection to everything else on this planet, right?
That's right. It really does leave no room for discrimination. I mean, there's a lot of things, and I'm not going to touch on that today. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now, and it's because we've lost respect for each other. It's because we've lost our place where we can step back and say, yeah, I understand what's going on. We can work through this because we're the same. We're the same. We're not different. We're all on this sacred hoop together. We're all on the same journey, whether you understand it or not. We're all on the same journey. We're all trying to find our way home. We're all trying to find our place where life in this bag of bones is peaceful. Life exists in a peaceful plane. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is.
So, Bea, when we realize that we need to center ourselves, challenge our ego, and realize that we are no better than others, when it comes to disagreements, how do you feel that the best way to kind of achieve a common ground or a middle ground how can we go about doing that? In terms of being in a conversation to listen and to engage rather than to yell and to force our own ideologies on other people.
Oh, that's great. That's great because I really love that, because how many people right now out there sitting wish you could be in this room? I haven't finished speaking and you formulated your question because you're not listening. You hear what I'm saying, but you're not listening. And that's what we do. We don't listen wholeheartedly. We listen with one ear to what's being said, but we're so busy planning our response or our attack. We're so ready to criticize about something that's been said, but we only half-heartedly hear what's being said. If we listen completely, take time to think about what's been said, before we respond, we eliminate the need for arguments. All an argument is me trying to prove that I'm better than you or you over there or anybody else. And I'm not. I'm not any better than any of those. I'm the same as you. It's learning to listen without formulating a response or an attack.
It's certainly about responding and engaging, and I hear that the most intelligent person in a conversation is the one who listens.
One that listens and says the least.
Yes, absolutely.
Because when they speak, they're simply putting their viewpoint forward, not challenging,
not engaging,
not engaging,
not learning,
simply their response.
When we look at the traditional First Nations people, back hundreds of years ago, how would they go about facing conflicts with neighbouring tribes? Because I feel like the way that they come up to conflict might be a little bit different than what we're experiencing in the West today.
Native people didn't fight each other over belief. They all recognized the Creator. They all recognized the right of people to believe and pray how they wanted to. Before the arrival of the European in North America, First Natives warfare was to weaken your enemy and strengthen yourself. It was more about providing for your people. The weakest link in your people is the one that has the least. So we provide for everybody. So when it came to conflict resolution, it was very important that it was done equally, that there was a recognition that even though you've been my enemy, we're going to be at peace now. So we put that all aside. We set our differences aside and we look at what we're doing now. And what we're doing now is creating peace among our people. Whether we're becoming allies or whether we agree that we're not going to fight with each other anymore, it's still a recognition of your existence, your right to exist. Very few cases of actual genocide. There are cases of genocide, but very few before the arrival of the European. So it's very much a thing of, let's get this back to balance. We're done with that now. Let's get back to balance so that your people can live and my people can live, and we'll just carry on doing what it is that we're doing.
So, Bea, you were in the Special Forces, and therefore I can imagine that you have experienced life and thought about unity and division in a much different light than the normal civilian. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I served in the military. I first went in to Reserve Army in 1964, and I served until 1970. And soldiers are a very different breed of people. You get people that go in the military because they can learn a trade or something, but most of the guys that are there were there to prevent a threat to our families. First and foremost, it's our families, our town, our country. At the end of the day, it's the brother to your left and the brother to your right. You're just trying to get everybody home safe. The guys in World War II and the guys in Korea fought and died to give us freedom of speech, to allow us expression of life. The guys that served when I served in the Cold War or in Vietnam or in other places around the world. And I'm not talking about the controversial things, that aspect. I'm talking about individual freedoms and understandings that we as soldiers have that civilians just don't get because you're not there. You're not voluntarily putting yourself
on the line
in the way of danger. You're not it's a very, very strange thing indeed for a 17-year-old boy and now young women to sit down and write a will, knowing that you may cash a check that ends everything. And at 17 years old, you have nothing to leave anybody, but you still sit down and write a will. Every one of us sit down and write a will. And that really brings it home. That really makes you think about what you're doing. You know, you're in a position...
What you're fighting for, too.
Yeah, what you're fighting for, too. You're in a position where you're willing to sacrifice your life for freedom. And what's freedom? Freedom is everything. Freedom is the freedom of choice, freedom of speech, freedom to choose what you want to do with your life.
Something we're very lucky to have in Western society. I feel like us in Western society, we have a lot to learn and a lot that we can take away from the traditional cultures, but what we do have in Western society, we are living in the most safest point in human history. And it is because of people like you who went to war to fight for these freedoms that we have. To those who put their life on the line because they care.
Yeah.
And what have you learnt in the process about your enemy? In brief.
Yeah,
I mean, we gotta wrap it up in a minute.
That's a really interesting question, because is my enemy the guy in a different colored uniform than me that has a gun that's trying to kill me? Or is the enemy the politician or the big business interests that have put us in this position? Because that guy in the other uniform, he's just doing the same thing I am. He's trying to keep his world as he sees it alive, whether we agree with that or not, whether we agree with their ideologies or not. So my enemy at the time could have been the soldier on the street, but we in special forces you learn to look at things a little bit different, and you look past the grunt, the guy in the ground, the guy running around with the gun, and you look at where it's coming from. It's coming from some just dictator, some greedy, money-hungry, power-driven people. So my enemy is my brother.
You're still connected with him. It goes back to the first thing of, well, at the end of all of this, we're all connected.
Yeah.
We all belong to the earth.
And there's lots of cases of helping wounded on the enemy side. If you think about it, it's a weird thing to look at it that way, but he's just the brother. He's just a guy like me.
So, Bea, in your final words, as we have to wrap this up now, what would you consider the universal language of unity?
Peace. Really? Really, at the end of the day, the bloomin' hippies had it right. It's about peace. It's about understanding that we're all the same. If I can stand here and listen to you speak and not judge you, then we're further ahead. We can go further down the road. We can talk about other things. If we get past this one hurdle, we can get past the next hurdle, because we learn to have respect for each other. And the only way we can learn to have respect for each other is through peace.
Yeah. To respect each other's differences, to respect the fact that fundamentally no one's right 100% about anything.
No.
That we are living different experiences.
Again, it comes back to my elders. There is no right, there is no wrong. There just is.
Yes.
There just is. Right and wrong are a man-made concept. Right and wrong create differences.
Social construct, yeah.
And it creates differences.
Unless something can be backed up by science. But, in terms of cultural and belief, it all comes down to none of us are really right and wrong. It just is.
It just is. It's just when the Europeans arrived in North America, we already had thousands of years of spiritual belief. They didn't accept that, so they felt they needed to change that. We could have gone along a whole lot better otherwise if things had been different, if there had been a little bit of respect.
In 2020, we've come through a different experience together as First Nations, as whites, as blacks, as Asians. We're all going through a new and unique experience together. And I think it's important to think about what can we learn from our civil unrest, from our civil discourse, from our disagreements.
Learn to love each other.
Yes.
Learn to respect each other. Learn to forgive, not forget. There's no forgetting. Forgiveness.
Yes.
Forgiveness heals and allows us to move forward. If we can move forward, we can progress. We can make the changes we need to make.
And that forgiveness starts within ourselves.
That's right.
It's not about the other person. It's about starting from in here first.
That's exactly right. Forgiveness starts within here. Forgiveness starts with forgiving me. Not you forgiving me, forgiving me. Me forgiving my impatience, my negative thoughts toward you, my lack of respect, my lack of love.
Well, thank you so much, Bea, for joining us today. I really enjoyed having you. I'm so glad we could finally get to do this.
Yeah, let's hope we can do this again sometime and not have to wait another 2.5 years or something.
Yes.
Really grateful to you, Lex, for arranging all this and everything and
squeezing it in.
And I really hope that all of you out there got something out of what we were trying to say today.
Yeah, if you have a comment about it, please leave it down below. We'd really love to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. It's your opinion, and you're entitled
you
to
it. You can
it.
disagree with Bea.
You can disagree with me. It's like, that's fine.
We welcome that. We welcome different opinions on this channel.
Yeah, it makes me think more. It makes me reconnect.
Challenge his ego.
It
Go on,
makes
everyone,
me-
challenge his ego.
It makes me reconnect with what my elders taught me.
Yeah.
You know, and get back to the truth, because the truth is the truth. The truth never changes.
I hope you guys have a really good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys all again for the next video. Bye!
Bye.